What's up, everybody? I am excited to come today and to talk about the subject that is basically the title, which is My Bed Went Viral. But before I go into all of that, I want to ask that you please go down and hit the red subscribe button and that you also click the thumbs up video. So I will greatly appreciate it if you do. But while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the video. So back in September of last year, I was moving. I was down on my budget, and it was just a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot of money that was spent that I didn't realize that was spent, and I moved states, so it was just a lot. The moving truck was more than what we expected it to be. The move itself was a lot, and plus we were moving with 5 kids, so it was just a lot. It was really a lot. So one of the things way before we even moved that I discussed was that I wanted to make my bed. I am a DIYer at heart. I love to create things. I'm a person that if I see it and I think I can do it, I'll try it. If it comes out good, great. If it comes out bad, great, because I still get the experience of creation. So I wanted to at least try my hand at a tufted bed. So I'm a Pinterest junkie as well. So I had went on Pinterest and I was looking at a lot of different pictures of beds, and I fell in love with this picture of this gray tuft bed with this very beautiful lay ottoman down at the bottom, very high headboard. Like, I just fell in love with it. So I saved it on one of my boards and it just left my head. Well, back in September of last year, when we started to think about moving, I kept being drawn to this bed. So I decided to go back, click on it, study it. And so I went to YouTube University and I started looking around to see if there was any type of blueprints on how to make this bed, because I knew I couldn't afford it. Like, I went to the websites of a couple of people and put in tufted beds, and they were starting at $1,200. I was like, I can't afford that. So it was one of those things to where my DIYer came into play, and I was like, let me see if I can try to make this. So I went on the internet. I started looking for things, and I wasn't coming up with anything. Like, I was coming up with videos on how to tuft. But again, these were professional tufters, and also like a couple of people that was tufting was using a needle and thread. And I'm like, I'm trying to make a whole bed. This is not going to work. So just a lot of stuff was going through my head. And I was just like, one thing about me is, again, if I think I can do something, I'm going to try to do it. And against, with trial and error, of course. So I was just like, let me try it. And if it works, it works. So I went to the store and I said, well, let me start with the headboard. And I got like a piece of plywood. I got some nails. Some screws, actually. No, they weren't nails the first time. I got some screws. I got some batting. And I'm just going off the regular videos on how to tuft, right? So I called my mom up and I'm like, Mom, I need help. I'm trying to make a bed and this is what I'm working with, and I don't have no blueprint and nothing. So let me pause right there. My mom is I hate to label her a builder, but my mom did a lot of demolition. Like, our house, my childhood home was redone. I'm talking about from gutted and basically made into a brand new home. And all I can remember is coming home from school a couple of days during the year, and my mom then busted down the wall and she's like, pick up a hammer because we got to finish busting out this wall. So I learned a lot of my DIY jump into things from my mom. So how to lay carpet, how to lay drywall, how to put up studs, how to do the framings, all of that. Like drop ceilings, plumbing, all of that I learned from my mom. I know, right? Most people learn that from their dad, but I've learned things like that from my mom. I've learned a vast amount of things from my dad, but particularly this type of stuff I've learned from my mother. And so I called her up and she's like, of course, she's all with it. She's like, okay, I'll come over and help. So I realized once I got the material that I might have been a little bit in above my head, but I don't like to be defeated either. So it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm just going to go for it. So we set up out on my front porch and we laid the plywood down. I replayed the same YouTube video again and again and again and again to try to see how they were tufting correctly. And when I start laying the batting out, I went to Joann Fabrics and I got batting. Batting and foam. I went to Walmart and got memory foam. And I realized when I was laying the memory foam, not batting, I realized when I was laying the memory foam out, I'm like, I don't think I know what I'm doing. So I just decided to go for it anyway. So we started to layer the foam on top of one another because I had got a 1-inch foam and it really wasn't as thick as I wanted it to be. But I'd already spent my money and I wasn't into wasting money. So we had to like double the batting up so that we can get a thicker batting and all this stuff. And if I could redo a lot of things, I would. So I'm going to be honest with you. I will be creating this bed again. I may not be stripping it down all the way. I just may be adding more foam to it, more memory foam to it, and I may be changing the way I want the bed set up. But for the most part, the guts of the bed will still remain the same. And even the material, I got a good sale. I went out at Joann Fabrics and I had like a 50% off coupon. And so then when I found the material was like maybe $6 plus the 50% off coupon. And I bought the whole bolt. So, and it was a pretty good, I think there had to be a good 11, 12 yards on the bolt. So I made out. I was real excited about that. And I knew that I wanted the velvet material. Once I got to the store and I seen the gray, I didn't like the gray. So I decided that I was going to go with the navy blue or the cobalt blue. So, again, through a lot of trial and error, we created the headboard. And after the headboard was created, I wasn't quite convinced that I wanted to carry on with making the bed. I kind of felt as though it didn't come out the way I wanted it to come out. But I still wasn't about to be defeated. I just knew that right then and there I could not complete the bed because we had still yet to pack and move. Like we literally, when I made this bed, we had 5 days to move. So, and not forceful move. Like this was a house that we owned. So we weren't getting kicked out, evicted or nothing like that. It was just, we had hired, we got a moving truck and we had to be, at our next. So it was a lot. It was a lot. And so I shouldn't even took on this project to begin with because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. So honestly, I just put the headboard in the back of the U-Haul truck and I just didn't think more else about it until we got to our new place. And I was like, we ain't got no bed. We started getting couches and all this other stuff. And I'm like, but what we going to sleep on? The kids, they had their beds. We had 1, 2, 3 set their beds up like nothing, but we coming in our room sleeping on the mattress, like putting the mattress and the box spring together, sleeping on the mattress box. And I'm like, no, we gotta complete the bed. We gotta buy a bed, or we have to complete a bed, because I'm not one to like want to sleep on a mattress on the floor. That's just not me. So I'm like, I gotta figure out what we fixing to do. To make a longer story shorter, I called my mom again. Well, actually, she had came down to see our new place and stuff. And I bought it to her again, like, Mom, I want to build this bed, but I don't know what to do. So my mom is the thinker. She sat down, she, tried to put a blueprint together, but again, we didn't have anything to go off of. So we was basing it off of the size and the dimensions of the mattress. So we went ahead, we sized the mattress and box springs, and then we already had the headboard built, and the headboard wasn't as high as I wanted it to be, but I also had to be smart about how the bed was being built, because I didn't want the headboard to be too high that I couldn't get it in the room. And the doors were like 6.5-foot doors, and I didn't want to build this 12-foot headboard, and this 12 foot by 8-foot headboard that wasn't fixing to fit through an average door. So I had to really think things through. So we sat down, we drew some things out on paper, we crossed a lot of things out. Just, when I tell you this bed was built in chaotic mayhem, it really was. My mom was the most logical thinker in the process because she's built bigger things before. So, lo and behold, off of a lot of trial and error, things started to come together. And then that's when I started to take my camera out and take some pictures of our steps. And not all of the steps, but just a few. So I could personally see the progress. So then once the bed got done, I was very pleased on how the bed turned out. I knew that we had thought it out and really planned things out a little better, the bed would have turned out better than what it did. But I was really pleased at the end results of the bed. So I belong to a couple of craft groups on Facebook, and I went into each craft group because I was proud of myself more than anything, that I was able to create something that I thought of. I couldn't find a blueprint for, and we just went ahead and did it. And then two, I know how much the bed cost, and I only spent I only spent a quarter of that. Like, I spent literally $300 on making this bed. Of course, not including my box spring and my mattress, because I purchased that brand new. But other than that, materials and all of that, I only spent $300 on this bed, and I was very, very pleased. And I don't really even think it was a full $300. I think it may have been $2 and some change. Either way, I went in the craft groups. I posted in the craft groups. And I'm not thinking anything. I'm thinking I'm going to get a couple thumbs up. You go, girl. And that was it. I posted that in one of the groups I'm in. I posted it at like 2 o'clock. I went 2 o'clock in the evening, in the afternoon, mind you. So I went to bed that night. Still didn't think anything about it. I woke up that morning and I had a couple of messages in my inbox. So before I went to work, I went ahead and I checked those inboxes, and I'm getting, these are my close personal friends, like, girl, I'm seeing your picture everywhere. Because I put up a couple pictures of the bed, and they're like, I'm seeing your picture everywhere. What is going on? And then one of my high school friends was like, girl, you went viral. Like, you are on every social media platform viral. So I go back in the group because I'm having a hard time trying to fathom how this little bed went viral. So I go into the post, and there's like 4,000 people from 2 o'clock to 10 a.m. the next day that liked this post. And then I got all of these messages, and it's just like, wow. So I responded to like 15 of those messages, because it was just a lot. I work, I have kids, I have house to keep, and we just got them moving, so I still got a lot of stuff going on. So I responded to who I could. It wasn't until, I'm going to say, that night that my cousin inboxed me, and she was like, girl, go on my Facebook page and look at the post that I shared. So I go on her Facebook page, and she shared this post from a group that I don't even belong to, that had, I think it was like 10,000 likes, like 7,000 shares. And I mean, of course, with anything, you get the good, the bad, the ugly. But for the most part, you couldn't even concentrate on the bad and the ugly, because all of the accolades that I was receiving, all of the you go girls, and I was just so overwhelmed. Like, I was really, and I'm not really a sensitive person, so like I was really brought to tears, because I'm like, this is not what I expected out of posting up 4 or 5 pictures about my progress on making a bed. I made a bed. Like, there are professional people out there making beds that look far way better than this, but this happened off of a bed. Lo and behold, months later, even till today, like, I'm still getting viral post about this bid. Like, it'll hit a group, people will like it, and then 20,000 people is liking the actual pictures. And I'm like, wow. And I kind of felt bad in the midst of that as well, because I had over 1,000 people go into my inbox and asked me how I made the bid, what was the blueprints, can I give the dimensions, and I couldn't respond back. It was just too many people. It was way too many. Like, I responded to 15, 20 people, and it was like a drop in the bucket. Like, I could not respond to everybody. It was so overwhelming. I mean, the picture got put up in so many different groups on so many different platforms. And I have a Facebook, I have an Instagram, I'm on YouTube, LinkedIn, and all of these different platforms, people was contacting me about this bid. So it went from, I was like missing messages from my personal family and friends, because I was getting these overwhelming amounts of emails or inboxes about this bid. And again, I was very excited about it. I was head over heels. I was in the clouds about it, but I couldn't respond back to everybody because the response was just so overwhelming, and it was not something that I was ready for. I literally put the pictures out in, I think, 3 groups. And when I put these pictures out, I was not expecting this response. I just really wasn't. So, literally, if I could say anything about, or if I can give any response back to the majority of the questions that was asked, I will go ahead and try to answer at least the top 10 questions that I was given. And then if there's any more questions, add them down in the comment below. And if I can answer it, I can answer it. If I can't, I'll honestly say I can't answer, or I'll try to lead you to a link or something that may answer your question. But when I tell you I'm not a professional, I'm not someone that, I'm just a DIYer, and I'm just someone that likes to do crafts. I'm someone that likes to try my hand at things, and I'm also someone who likes to take on a challenge. That's really what it was. And I was just overwhelmed at that response. So I'm going to answer the top 10 questions, and hopefully if you seen the bid go viral, hopefully these are answering your questions, especially if you inboxed me about the bid. Let me say that I apologize from the bottom of my heart for not being able to respond to everyone, but hopefully this video will be able to answer some of those questions, because believe it or not, I thought the bid would go viral, it would die down, that was it. Well, I didn't believe it would go viral, but once I found out it went viral, I said, okay, well, we got to die down sometime. Matter of fact, 3 days ago, I received another viral post in another group that I've never even knew existed. So that is another thing that would prompted me to do this video. Hey, I seen you built the bid frame. I have a few questions. How much was this project? And what was the name of this bid? Okay, so when I first started researching this bid, I was only putting in Tufted bids because it didn't have, back when I did the bid, it didn't have a specific name for the bid. It was just Tufted bid. If there is a professional name for the bid, I don't know. I apologize, but all I searched was Tufted bid. And how much was the project? This project probably cost me, I'm just going to round it to 300, but it probably cost like $200, maybe $60. But I'm going to round it to 300 because there was a couple of tools that I already had, and there was a couple of tools that I had to get. So depending on what tools you already have, you may even come out cheaper. So other questions was, how long did it take for you to make the bid? And it took me 3 days. Now let me tell you why it took me 3 days, because it shouldn't even took 3 days. It took 3 days because, number one, we were winging it. So we did a lot of starting and stopping based on thinking things through, measuring, just trying to figure out how we wanted the bid to look. So we did a lot of starting and stopping that way. We did a lot of starting and stopping because we had to run to between Lowe's and Home Depot. Those were my two go-tos. So between those two, We did a lot of running. My car had a lot of miles on it those 3 days. So we had to run to Home Depot and Lowe's to go get a couple of things. And then I have children, so I would have to stop. I would have to cook lunch. I would have to stop. I would have to cook dinner. And I was working, so I had to go to work. It wouldn't have took 3 days if I would have went the whole way through. But because I didn't have a blueprint, I had to run back and forth to the store. And I still had to tend to my family. It took 3 days. If I was to pay you, would you make this bed for me? Now, I got a lot of people that ask that question, and I'm going to be completely honest. I'm a DIYer. I love to do things like this, but it's a yes and no for me. The yes is I would love for DIYing and building to be my career, or to be something that I'm doing as a side hustle, or to make money. I would love to do that. And I know how much these bids run, so I know what I can charge for it. The no part would come into place because based on the demands, I don't have the muscle or the manpower to push these bids out like most companies do. There is a young lady that I know that makes bids as well, but she has like a team of 8 people. I don't have that, and I'm not at the point to where I can hire anybody at this point in time. So it would have to really be something that I get an overwhelming response of building the bid. And I'm not saying about it going viral, but I would get an overwhelming response of people wanting bids built, and I'm actually getting deposits in. Then I would be full game for it, because it would be enough for me to quit working and say, listen, this is going to be my job. This is what I'm going to do. I know now that I have made it, I know the things that I need to tweak and things I need to work on to come out, to have the bid come out the way that I want it to be. So, I'm very confident in being able to make this a job if it came out to be that way. How did I make the bed? And I got that question. I think I read about most of the responses was, how did I make the bed? I don't have a step-by-step. Like I said, I didn't even have a blueprint. These were just things that me and my mom was jotting down. If I can give you any advice about making this bed, it would be to start with the dimensions of your bed frame. I have a king. So what I did was I measured all 4 sides of the king bed, and I knew that I wanted 2 side rails on the bed that I can like step off the bed onto the floor. I knew I wanted a lay ottoman down at the bottom, so I had to measure the dimensions of that. And I wanted a higher headboard than this one. I actually wanted it to go all the way up to the ceiling, but I had to be realistic. I did not this bed eventually will have to be taken apart, and I did not want to have the trouble of how I'm getting in and out of the room. Now that I've already built the bed, I know that there's a way that I could have made it. I could have put it on hinges and made it to where it was built up and it was easy to take it down by a 2-step process. But again, building the bed, I didn't realize that at the time until after I was done. I realized things I could have done and tweaked to make it different. So again, I had to, it's a lot of measuring. It's a lot of knowing exactly what you're looking for. Being able to know the width of things. Like I knew that I wanted my side rails to be 1 foot in width. I knew I wanted my lay ottoman to be able to fit me on it. I'm 5'4", so I knew that I needed it to fit my height as well as my weight. I'm not a skinny mini, so I knew I couldn't put no thin piece of plywood right there because I was going to be laying on the floor. Like these were things that I had to take into consideration. So the bases that you're going to need basically is like plywood, screws, washers for your screws to sit in order to make that tuft look. You're going to need memory foam. You're going to need batting. You're going to need a sturdy type of material. Now, one thing I can say about this material is that, and you get what you pay for. I'm going to be honest. I do like this material. It's a very soft material. It's easy to clean. You get a stain on it. It's just really taking the rag, dipping it in water and wiping it off. It comes off that easy. I really, really, really do like the material, but the material is thin. It's not see-through thin, but it's thin enough to where I snagged a couple of spots, and even though they're not noticeable, I notice them because I know where they're at. So I would have probably got a more sturdier fabric. That's why I said this bed, I will be working on this bed again. I just don't know when, so I'm not going to make any promises of filming, because I don't know when, because I got a lot of stuff going on in my life right now. But when I do, I will upgrade the fabric that I have. Where did you find the fabrics? And is there a book or plan that you got the idea from? So I answered that second part of the question. But where did I find my fabric? I found this particular fabric at Joann Fabrics. I'm sorry, no. I'm stand to be corrected. I found this fabric at Hobby Lobby. The first set of fabric, I bought a bolt of fabric. I bought it from Joann Fabrics, and I'm actually glad I didn't use that fabric because it is so stretchy that as soon as I tried to screw through the fabric, it wrapped around the screw and it created like a runner all the way through the fabric. It was just horrible. So I got this particular fabric from I'm from Hobby Lobby, but I found some material online. I actually ordered a swatch from, and if I could think of the name of the company, I will let you know, or I will put it down in the comments below. I would really order my fabric from there because it seems to be a lot sturdier, but you're going to pay a little bit more. I think this particular fabric that I found online is $20 a yard versus paying, this was originally like $6 something a yard, but I had a 50% off coupon. Can you give me the dimensions of the bed? Based on it being a king size bed, you just run with the dimensions of the mattress and box spring. So normally the box spring and the mattress is going to be the same width and the same height. So you're just measuring around that, but you're not measuring accurately to it. So I know if the box spring is 7, I'm just giving a rough. If it's 7 feet tall and 5 feet wide, then I already know that I have to do maybe 7.5 to 7 3/4 or 7 or 8, even 8, giving it time for me, because I created a little space for me to be able to fit my hands down the side to put to tuck down my bed sheets and stuff. So you may want to measure it maybe a 1/2 inch bigger. So those again are things I did not write anything down, so I don't have those dimensions, but I would base it off of your bed. If you got a queen size bed, then you know to measure, get the dimensions of your queen size bed, add on a 1/2 inch all four way around, and then build your bed according to the way you want that to look. So if you're having 12-inch side rails, then you got to measure out those 12-inch side rails, but still accommodate. So your headboard has to have 12 inches added onto both sides of the headboard, because you got to accommodate for the side rails. And then as far as the lay ottoman, you have to know where you want your lay ottoman to start, where you want it to stop. If it's so big to where you can't open up your door, you have to, all those measurements have to be based on the space really where the bed is going to be at, and based on the actual mattress itself. Hey, I seen your post. I love the bed. Can you please tell me the tools that you used? I used, and I'm giving you a roundabout. I used a staple gun. I used the same staple gun. It was actually an air gun. It did staples and nails, and so I used both. I used both staples and nails. I used a wireless drill, a power drill. I used I used a 1/2 inch screws. The fabric, of course, the memory foam, you're going to need a lot of that. I think I had ended up buying like 5 bags of the memory foam, and it still wasn't as thick as I would have liked it to be, because I wanted my tufts to be a lot deeper than what they were. So I would have probably doubled that amount. So instead of getting let's say if you get 4 bags, I would get 8 bags. Based on the dimensions of your bed, I would make sure that you have, and that's only because I went with 1 inch. If you go with 2-inch foams, then you may only need to double it up twice. So again, that's based on personal preference. I needed plywood, 2x4s. I needed a lot of 2x4s. I think I bought like a total of 12 2x4s or 13 2x4s. I bought a total of, I think, 5 pieces of plywood, and I bought really thick plywood, so I think they were $20 a sheet. And then I think Home Depot only covers like 2 cuts, And I think I paid for at least 20 cuts. At least, because I don't have a saw or anything at home, so I had to keep relying on these stores to cut the wood down for me. And I needed some spray adhesive to get the batting to adhere to the plywood. So, and I used 2 hinges. I used L hinges, and I also used the regular door hinge to mount my bed on top of a piece of wood that sat down at the bottom. But that's it, I think. That's it. If I think of any more, I'll let you know. If I think of any more tools or anything that I use, I'll just add it below. Can you give me pointers on how you did your headboard? So my headboard happened in 2 parts. I made the headboard, tufted and stuff before I left my old home. And when I got here, I realized that it was not as stable as I would like for it to be. So I created an X on the back with these. They weren't really 2x4s, but they were really thick pieces of slats. And I created an X like this to support the weight of the heavy thick plywood that I got. And actually, once I screwed everything in, and I only dealt with screws on the harder pieces, I dealt with screws instead of nails because I don't want it to strip and come out. So any pointers that I can give is basically, if it feels wobbly, it is wobbly. If it doesn't feel like it's stable, it is unstable. So you need to make sure that you reinforce the stability, because there's nothing worse than thinking you got a bed together, lay down in it, and it hits the floor or it falls and it hits you, because you can't see nobody but yourself. So it's best you make it as stable as you can get it. How did you make the pleats in your material? Now tufting, of course, I had to watch a video about tufting, but in order to get the tuft, if I could give any advice, it would be the way that you prep your foam, your memory foam, and your batting is essential, because the tufts don't make a difference if the hole you're tufting into isn't deep or if it's not defined. So the pleats will make themselves. I watched a lot of videos where people created their own pleats, but for the most part, if your tufting is right and if your hole is deep enough, the pleats will make themselves. So I wasn't really worried about how defined the pleats came out, although the next time I do this bed, I will be defining my pleats, because I'm a very big fan of neat pleats. So the next time I'll do it, I will definitely concentrate on pleats. Is the front piece ottoman attached or detached? And so what I would say is that the part of the ottoman is attached to the bed. I chose for it to be attached. You can make a detachable ottoman. It's just based on what you're building it with. You can build it with a detachable hinge. I did not want to move my lay ottoman, so I attached it to the bed, but that's personal preference. You can detach the lay ottoman if you want to. What was the inspiration that you got from making the bed? Pinterest. I've seen, excuse me, that's my son, I'm sorry. Looking on Pinterest, I seen a bed that I liked. I typed in tuft bed. I seen a lot more beds that was like mine. So between Pinterest and YouTube University is what I call it, that's where I kind of got the image of what I wanted my bed to look like and how I wanted it to look. So yeah, I mean, that's it, you guys. Like I said, if you have any more questions, definitely feel free to type them in the comments below, and I will answer them as much as I can. Or if I don't know how to answer them, I will try to get somebody to help, or I'll even have my mom, if you would like for her to come on. I'll even feature her, and maybe she can give some better advice, and she's the more experienced person in building things. And so thank you so much for sticking in and watching the video. I kind of wanted to put those things in there, talk about those. Along the video, there was some pictures that I added in of the bed and the process of the bed. It's the same pictures that went viral. So if you have any questions that you want me to answer, or anything about the bed that you want me to discuss, add it in the comments. I will be happy to answer them for you. And until next time, I will talk to you later. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. And thank you. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.